Hello and welcome back to Copic in the Craft Room. Michelle Houghton here, and this week we are going to explore something a little different than our Copic markers. Copic is distributed in the US and Canada by a company called Imagination International Incorporated, and that's actually who I work for. And not only do we carry Copic markers, but we carry a whole slew of other really fun art products. So on Copic in the Craft Room, we're going to start looking at some of the other things that we also carry at Imagination International. One of those, and some of you are probably already familiar with these, is a whole nother marker line, which is called Kirarina. It is also made in Japan. It was designed originally for stationary uses or some crafting uses. They're a little bit lower price point. They come in a whole slew of kind of makes and models. The one that I'm going to look at this week is called the Kirarina 2Win, the number 2 and then W-I-N. And these actually come in two forms. They come in a one with a white body, and those have two ends. That's why the name 2Win. They come with two ends. They're a little bit different colored, and one end is a chiseled highlighter, and the other end is a writing nib that is basically identical but slightly darker. So if you're a journaler or if you're a person who does all the planning that's so hot right now, the Kirarina 2Win that has the white body works great there because you can do all your writing and then highlight it in a similar color. So it's kind of cool. And those bring me back to my childhood because they are slightly scented. So they're really, really fun. These guys that I'm looking at today have a black body. They also have two ends, so I've got a fine nib, writing nib on one end, and then on the other end, I've got a broader bullet nib. Now, the biggest difference here is these guys with the black, these are oil-based, and so this is going to be not necessarily in my paper crafting in that I can use it on paper and it's going to be really opaque, but with that oil base, it's not going to be that acid-free that sometimes is so important. And so I'm saving it for other surfaces. So slick surfaces are going to be really good, like photos, plastics, glass. So I have a slew of things. I literally raided my craft room trying to look for things to share with you today. So I was looking for a piece of acetate or even just a clear plastic, and really what I found was just one of these sleeves that I store a lot of my stuff in. So I'm going to play around with that a little bit. I wish I had a piece of clear acetate, but I could not find my transparency box. I do, however, have a transparency that was for from a scrapbooking set. And this one, obviously, you would cut out and put pictures behind, but I could write on this as well. And then I know I can write on photographs, so I can either write on top of a surface that would go over the photograph, or I can write on the photograph itself. So I thought I'd show you just how this works or how it looks on some of this. And this is one of the sets of these guys. So I have a real fun group of colors that I can play with. And I'm just gonna experiment a little bit on the plastic to start. This is just truly an acetate. Fancy Pants was the company that did these. I don't know that this one is around anymore. This is truly from the archives of my scrapbooking set. So, but you can see this is going to actually write really easily, really clean. It is going to take a little bit to dry, looks like. We'll kind of test that as we go so we can give you a sense of how much. But I could definitely do some nice, clean doodling. I could write something in one of these. And of course, every time I wing it, I make a few little mistakes along the way. Working with an acetate like this, I should have done a rough draft underneath so I could space out my lettering, figure out how much room I really had so I could fit things in perfectly. But you can see at this point that these Kirarina 2Win oil-based pens are working great on the acetate. It is the color is slightly transparent, so I can still see through. Really simple. obviously I can fancy those up. And what I'm noticing, and should have noticed right away, is that these are slightly different colors as well. So I've got a little bit different ink coming out either end. So it broadens the number of colors that I have in my set immediately. So this set came with 2, 4, 6, 8 markers, but I've actually got, looks like 15 colors. The black doesn't have a separate color on the other end, but nice piece there that they've added in the value to that set. So the other thing I thought that would be fun to do is I've been doing a ton of lettering recently. And so I brought out one of these pieces that I'd kind of worked on a little bit. So I'm just sketching in the last word on this second banner. The class I was teaching, we were working on banners, and so they were real interested in how to create those. If you're interested in learning more about lettering and word art, make sure to check out our workshop schedule at Imagination International. We have a whole series of lettering workshops coming around the country with our amazing teaching teams. So go ahead and look for your nearest location and get signed up. So I truly am just tracing the letters at this point. Those oil-based markers are working really well in the plastic. Notice you can see through the writing. They are transparent. So I'm going to have to be real aware of that as I try to write on top of things, that although they are an oil-based pen, they're working great on a slick surface. They are a transparent color. I can still see through them. So I'm adding a second color kind of off to the one side. Kind of check that out, and then I decide that kind of mint green or light green is a little bit light, so I go back and I actually just add a second layer of the same color, and it seems to darken it up just enough. The fun part about a sleeve like this is I could slide something in behind it or just put white paper in there and have this ready to go. The last thing I wanted to show you real quick is on a photograph, and so I'm going to back up just a little bit. I'm playing with the new printer these days, and so I've ended up with this monster photograph. Two things I could do, and I'm going to test this really quick first. Bring this back over and see. So this first one I did is dry, so that only took a couple minutes to be completely dry. And this is actually pretty close. So one thing you could do with a photograph if you're concerned about coloring on top of it is actually putting this underneath something so that it's not coloring directly on your photograph. Again, you're going to notice right away these colors are transparent, so not super effective on darker areas. The light colors, or the light areas of the photograph, you can really see those markers. And what I learned really fast is that this is a photo I printed at home just on a inkjet printer. The markers actually picked up the ink from the photograph itself. Now it is scribbling off and getting totally clean. The yellow looks really opaque, but that is because it's actually moving the ink off the photograph and replacing it with the yellow of the marker. I did try this on a regular photograph, and it is transparent and does not lift off the ink. Kirarina 2Win oil-based pens. You can do it on plastic, you can do it on your photograph, you can do it on glass. I've seen some amazing things done on glass. But another fun tool to have in your toolbox and to play with. Thank you so much for joining me this week at Copic in the Craft Room. If you have not had a chance to do it yet, please make sure to subscribe to our channel. Like this video if this was fun. And as always, ask questions. I am listening, so make sure to put those requests in and questions in. Join us over at Copic in the Craft Room on Facebook when you get the chance as well for loads of Copic and crafting inspiration. Thank you so much for joining me this week. Have a happy, colorful week.